Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Daniel bin Ahmad Jasmani, and today we'll be going to talk about the varieties of English language in Philippines. Some of you guys might be wondering, why did I choose to speak about Philippines English instead of other Asian countries? Well, my reason is because the first one, Philippines is one of the biggest Asian nation that speaks English. The second one is to sharpen my knowledge about Philippines English, and the third one is to expanding my knowledge about the differences in terms of phonological between Standard English and Philippines English. And this is my subject. Her name is Maddie. She is from Philippines and she now works as HR staff at an appliance-based company in Philippines. For her educational background, she has a degree in Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English, and for additional information, she used to work as an English teacher for 6 years. So basically, she is a suitable subject for this project. And now, we're going to talk about the importance of English language in Philippines. I asked my subject about how important it is English language in her country, and her response was it was very important as it served as a medium language in daily basis conversation. And the second answer is it plays a huge part in their daily lives as it is served as second main language.
For me, it is very important, the English language itself here in my country, because it serves as a medium instruction here in the Philippines, and it continues to be like a huge part of our local life and country here, basically.
And for this part, I also asked my subject, is it mandatory for students who recently graduated to have English, to speak English or to learn English fluently in terms of getting a new job or pursuing their studies? And her answer is, it is required to have at least basic of English language.
It depends on the university, but I can assure you that it is definitely required that to know the basic language skills, which is in English in particular, because it is very important, especially when you're like going to apply from a different country, especially when you're getting a job abroad. It is definitely required here in the Philippines when you're planning to like after graduation, you're planning to work abroad, like in the US, Canada, or Europe, etc.
And now we're going to talk about the history of English, how did it came to Philippines. So the English language came to the Philippines through colonization by the United States in the late 19th century or early 20th centuries. And after the Spanish-American War, the Philippines ceded to the United States, and English became the medium of instruction in schools and the official language of governments and business. Over time, English became widely spoken and is now one of the official language of the Philippines alongside Tagalog. And for this part, we asked our subject whether he is aware about the history of English language in her country. At first, he stated that he wasn't aware how the English came to her country, but she did make a thorough research before she came to the interview session.
So I honestly wasn't even aware of the actual history of the English language, if I'm being honest with you. But I did a bit of research and found some few small details, which I found in Google. It says that the English language was officially like introduced to Filipinos in the Philippines around in the 1908 to the 1920s, I believe, where the U.S. Actually occupied it which I find in most universities and schools, which I find it very interesting in my part, because it has a diverse between the two barriers of the two languages, which is in English and in Filipino language, or Tagalog as we call it.
In this interview, we also asked Maddie 2 questions about how Philippines pronounce certain words in English, which is the first question is how did they pronounce the English word with TH, and the second one is how did they pronounce the word with R. And she provided us 8 examples from those 2 questions, and I came up with my own 2 examples based on the interview that was conducted with Maddie. The first word is etc. In Philippines language, they pronounce it as etc.
The US, Canada, or Europe, etc.
The second one is medium. In Filipino language, they pronounce it as medium. Medium.
As a medium, instructions.
The third one is mother. In Filipino language, they pronounce it as mother. The fourth one is bother. In Filipino language, they pronounce it as bother. The fifth one is weather. In Filipino language, they pronounce it as weather. Number 6 is par. In Filipino language, they pronounce it as par. The seventh one is polar. In Filipino language, they pronounce it as polar. Number 8 is ri. In Filipino language, they pronounce it as ri. Number 9 is sorry. In Filipino language, they pronounce it as sorry. Number 10 is Friday. In Filipino language, they pronounce it as Friday. Friday. As you can see, from the TH sound, it stresses more on the TH consonants, and for the R sound, it stresses more on the R consonant. Now, we're moving on to the next slide, which I will show you how Maddie pronounced these words.
I'm gonna give like 3 examples between standard English and Philippine English when it comes to pronunciation, the TH, as you mentioned. For example, like the standard English that they usually pronounce is mother. And then in the Philippine English, it's pronounced as mother. Mother. Give a second example. In the standard English, they usually call it as bother. Bother. And in the Philippine English, it is basically pronounced as bother. Bother. The third example is weather. In standard English, they pronounce it as weather. And in the Philippine English, it's pronounced as weather. Between the wordings with the letter R in it. So in standard English, example number 1, in standard English, they pronounce it as car. Car. And in the Philippines, it pronounced as car. Car. The second example, in standard English, they pronounce it as collar. Collar. And in the Philippine English, it's pronounced as color. Color. And then in standard English, they usually pronounce it as read. Read.
Read.
And yeah, read in standard English. And in the Philippine English, they pronounce it as read. Read. Then two examples left. In standard English, they usually pronounce it as sorry. And in the Philippine English, it's pronounced as sorry. Sorry. And finally, last example is in standard English, they pronounce it as Friday. Friday. And in the Philippine English, they pronounce it as Friday. It's like a silent F, and they usually, when you hear it says in Philippine English, they pronounce it Friday.
So from this interview, I can came up to conclusion that English in the Philippines is widely spoken and used as a medium of instruction alongside Filipino, the national language. It was introduced during American colonization in the late 19th and 20th centuries. Today, English proficiency is high, with the Philippines being one of the largest English-speaking countries in the world. It is used in various sectors, including education, government, business, and media. Filipino English, influenced by American English, has its unique characteristic and vocabulary reflecting the country's diverse linguistic heritage. So, that's all from me. I shall pass the next presentation to one of my group mates. Thank you and Assalamualaikum. Bye bye.
Hello everyone, my name is Nick Ramzikri from the EC5B, and today I will be presenting about the globalization of English in the country of Singapore. Singapore, officially known as the Republic of Singapore, is a sovereign island city-state located in Southeast Asia. It is situated at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, separated from Malaysia by the narrow Johor Strait. Singapore is a melting pot of different cultures with significant influence from Chinese, Malay, Indian, and Western traditions. This diversity is reflected in its cuisine, festivals, languages, and customs. With that being said, English is also one of the official languages, and it is widely spoken throughout the country. Singlish is a Creole language that has evolved over time, incorporating elements from various languages spoken by Singapore's diverse population, including Chinese, Malay, Tamil, and various Chinese dialects. So in this interview, I will be focusing on the phonological of Singapore English, mainly how it differs to standard English. So, for this interview, I chose Falisha Khan, a 19-year-old from Changi in Singapore's eastern region. Has grown up surrounded by English, giving her a profound understanding of its use in her community. Now, as a final year student at Temasek Polytechnic, Falisha's broad exposure to English in diverse situations enables her to offer valuable insights into its importance and practical applications in Singapore's society. Whether discussing its role in education, professional settings, or everyday interactions, Falisha's expertise makes her an excellent resource for examining the significance and relevance of English in her country. So first of all, I would like to talk about her reaction towards the expanding power of English in the country. Falisha Khan's perspective on the expanding influence of English in Singapore reflects her own experiences and observation. She acknowledges the widespread use of English among younger generations, including herself and her friends, who primarily communicate in English. This preference for English, even in interaction with Malay-speaking friends, illustrates the language's dominance in her social circles.
Okay, so I just grew up with English, to be honest, just speaking English at home and in school and everywhere.
Falisha's exposure to English stems from multiple sources, including her upbringing in an English-speaking household, where it served as the primary language. Additionally, her consumption of English language content on social media, particularly through platforms like YouTube, contributed to her language acquisition. The reinforcement of English in the education system of Singapore further solidified her proficiency, with English exams being a mandatory component of the academic curriculum.
I grew up in a household that speaks English, so we only speak English to each other. And other than that, I would say watching YouTube as a kid, like my favorite YouTubers also, they all speak English.
So now I would like to jump into the history of Singapore English. So the presence of English in Singapore can be traced back to the island's colonial history and its role as a trading post in Southeast Asia. In 1819, Sir Stamford Raffles of the British East India Company established a trading post on the island of Singapore. The British colonial government subsequently gained control of Singapore, making it a crown colony in 1867. English became the administrative and educational language under British rule. After gaining independence from Britain in 1965, Singapore continued to use English as one of its official languages alongside Malay, Mandarin, Chinese, and Tamil. The government promoted English proficiency as part of its nation-building efforts to foster unity and facilitate economic development.
Yes, if I remember correctly, in school, I think the British colonized Singapore, if I'm not wrong, in the 19th century. And then because of that, English became like a dominant language in the country. And even after we gained independence, like it just like kind of stopped. And then we continue using English from then. If I think that's right.
I would say that Last but not least, in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, Singapore's integration into the global economy further reinforced the importance of English as an international language. English proficiency became essential for participation in sectors such as finance, technology, tourism, and also education. So in this part of the presentation, I will be talking about the progress and the development of Singapore English. English language plays a very important role in multicultural countries as it functions as a bridging language to communicate with people from different cultural backgrounds. How important is English in your country?
I think it's very important because it's a multiracial country, right? And no matter what, we all of us learn English. So it's like kind of like a bridging language that all of us can use it and we can all communicate to it.
While Singaporeans may also use other languages such as Mandarin, Malay, or dialects in informal settings with family or friends, English remains a widely used language for casual conversations and social interactions, particularly among younger generations and in multicultural settings. Is English a language that everyone in your household is comfortably speaking?
Yeah,
That's right.
it is
Yep.
because we grew up speaking English. Yeah, they can speak Malay. My Malay is not good, so and so lah, but mainly speaking English at home. So yeah.
Other than that, the history of how English language came to the country itself is also being taught in educational settings, where English plays a vital role in promoting communication, understanding, and social cohesion among Singapore's diverse cultural communities. Its status as a lingua franca contributes to Singapore's multicultural identity and its success as a harmonious and inclusive society. So, in this part of presentation, I will be comparing the pronunciation of Singlish to Standard English. So, for the first word, exhilarating, the Singaporean tends to pronounce it as accelerating. So, the word thrill will be pronounced as thrill, and also the word through will also be pronounced as through. This is because this sound may be pronounced as t or s by some speakers, especially those from Chinese-speaking backgrounds. Singaporean may exhibit rhotic features in certain words or phrases, influenced by certain factors like individual backgrounds and also educational level. So for example, the word discovery will be pronounced as discovery, and the word cry will be pronounced as cry. For the word this, Singaporeans tend to pronounce it as this. This is because the F sound similar to the or the in some speakers' pronunciation. Next, the word sauce is commonly pronounced as sauce, especially those from Chinese-speaking backgrounds. This is because they tend to pronounce the sh sounds as s. And last but not least, the most relatable example, which is lettuce, is commonly and widely pronounced as lettuce in Singapore. Reflecting on the use of Singlish, it's evident that it serves as more than just a language, variant but also as a cultural marker and identity for many Singaporeans. Growing up in a predominantly English-speaking environment, I have observed how Singlish seamlessly integrates elements of English, Mandarin, Malay, and other languages, reflecting the multicultural fabric of Singaporean society. Personally, I find Singlish to be a unique and vibrant form of expression, characterized by its colloquialism, humor, and efficiency in communication. While some may view it as informal and improper, I believe Singlish adds richness and depth to conversations, allowing for a deeper connection and understanding among locals. In summary, Singlish embodies the diverse linguistic landscape of Singapore, reflecting its multicultural heritage and serving as a source of pride and identity for many Singaporeans. While it may face challenges in certain contexts, its resilience and popularity among locals highlight its enduring significance in shaping the country's social dynamics and cultural identity.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Aizat Danish bin ID. ID number IDI 2208127 from DEC 5B. So today I will be presenting about varieties of English language, Thai English, for my final project. Okay. So the first is why Thai English? Why did I pick Thai English? It was to see how their first language affected their English. So the first language they use is Thai. So another reason why I picked Thai English is to know more about their opinion on expanding English language in Thailand. And for the third reason is to learn about the phonological between Standard English and Thai English. So this here is the subject. His name is Anurag. His age is 23 and he has a degree in mechanical engineering. Okay, so these are the importance of English in Thailand. The first is English is vital for communication with people from other countries, facilitating interactions in various contexts such as tourism, business, and diplomacy. So it actually serves as a lingua franca, allowing Thai individuals and businesses to communicate effectively with people from diverse linguistic backgrounds. In sectors such as tourism, hospitality, and international trade, English proficiency is essential for providing services to foreign visitors and negotiating business deals. The diplomatic relations with English-speaking countries often require Thai diplomats and officials to be proficient in English for effective communication and negotiation. The second importance is English proficiency is crucial for pursuing higher education both domestically and internationally. Students often need to pass English proficiency exams like TOEFL or IELTS to access higher educational opportunities. So this actually means that English proficiency is a key requirement for accessing higher education opportunities, both domestically and internationally. Many universities in Thailand offer programs taught in English, and overseas education institutions often require English proficiency exams for admission. English language skills are necessary for academic research, accessing English language scholarly resources, and participating in international academic conferences and collaborations. Proficiency in English enhances students' competitiveness in the global job market, as multinational companies often prefer candidates with strong English communication skills. So the third importance is proficiency in English enhances employment prospects, as many job roles require English language skills, especially in industries with international connections or tourism. So Industries such as tourism, hospitality, finance, and IT require proficiency in English due to interactions with international clients, customers, or colleagues. Other than that, English proficiency is often listed as a wanted thing in job postings, and candidates with strong English skills may have access to a wider range of job opportunities and higher salary potential. In sectors with a significant expatriate workforce or foreign investment, such as multinational corporations or international NGOs, proficiency in English is essential for collaboration and effective communication within diverse teams. So, another question is, how important is English in your country?
Well, English holds significant importance in Thailand for international communication, tourism, business, and education. The ability in English in change employment opportunities and facilitates participation in the global economy.
So, moving on to the history of Thailand English, colonial influence and trade. So, during periods of colonialism, particularly in the 19th and 20th century, Thailand, which is formerly Siam, had interactions with European powers such as Britain. Trade and diplomatic relations facilitated the exchange of languages and cultures, leading to the introduction of English to Thailand. English likely gained traction among merchants, diplomats, and government officials involved in international trade and diplomacy. So, educational reforms and formal education. In the late 19th and 20th century, Thailand underwent educational reforms aimed at modernization and development. English language education was introduced as part of these reforms, becoming a standard subject in schools across the country. Formal education played a crucial role in spreading English proficiency among the Thai population, providing a structured environment for language acquisition. And the last one is contemporary significance and globalization. In modern times, English holds significant importance in Thailand for various reasons, driven by globalization. English proficiency is essential for international communication, particularly in sectors such as tourism, business, and education. Exposure to English media, including movies, music, and the internet, further reinforces English language skills among the Thai population, especially in urban areas and tourist destinations. So, moving on to the next question. Do you know about the history of English language in your country?
I don't know a lot about story, but I do know the English in Thailand has historical root in colonialism, trade, and modern globalization. The language gained prominence in the 19th and 20th countries due to increased international instruction and education reform.
That's cool. These here are some of the Thai English pronunciation. As for computer, they say computer. For credit card, they usually say credit card. Yes. And supermarket, they say supermarket. For 7-Eleven, they say 7-Eleven. Yes. Now could you share an example of an English word that sounds different in Thailand?
Wait. I have to think about one first.
It's okay, take your time.
The word computer may sound like computer in Thai pronunciation, with different in vowel sound and stress pattern. Oh, and credit card, which in Thailand is pronounced as credit card.
That's good to know. Now, moving on to the summary. The first one is Thai English is primarily acquired through formal education and exposure to English media. This means that the Thai English proficiency is typically developed through formal education channels, starting from primary school and continuing through university. English is a core subject in the Thai education system, with students receiving instructions in English grammar, vocabulary, reading, writing, and speaking skills. Additionally, exposure to English media such as movies, music, and the internet plays a significant role in language acquisition, providing real-life context and immersion opportunities for learners to practice and improve their English proficiency. The second one is its history in Thailand is tied to colonialism, trade, and globalization. So the history of English in Thailand can be traced back to periods of colonialism, trade, and modern globalization during the colonial era. Thailand, formerly known as Siam, interacted with the Western powers, leading to the introduction and spread of the English language. Trade relations with English-speaking countries further facilitated the adoption of English vocabulary and linguistic influences. In the 19th and 20th century, Thailand underwent significant educational reforms, with English gaining prominence as a key language for international communication, commerce, and diplomacy. The last one is English is crucial for international communication, tourism, business, and education in Thailand. So, the importance of English holds considerable importance in Thailand across various sectors. In the realm of international communication, English serves as a lingua franca, enabling Thai individuals and businesses to interact effectively with people from diverse linguistic backgrounds in the tourism industry. Proficiency in English is essential for providing quality service to foreign visitors and promoting Thailand as a global travel destination. Moreover, English proficiency enhances job prospect and career advancement opportunities, particularly in multinational companies, where English may be the primary language of communication. Additionally, English is crucial in the field of education, where proficiency in the language opens doors to prestigious universities abroad and facilitates access to international academic resources and research opportunities. Overall, English proficiency is seen as a gateway to global opportunities and economic advancement in Thailand. That is all for my presentation. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Hi, I'm Fawasiki bin Muhammad Zaidi, IDI 220837 from DEC 5B, and I'll be presenting in the subject of varieties of English language for my respective country, which is Indonesia, in the three cut-through circle, which is the expanding circle. So as to why I choose Indonesian as my respondent, because the diverse country with numerous ethnic groups and languages reform the linguistic pattern by selecting an Indonesian participant. I can capture the unique influence of the Indonesian linguistic and the cultural context on English pronunciation. For the specific phonological features, by investigating an Indonesian participant, it allows me to explore potential phonological interference from the native language itself, such as the influence of Indonesian phonetic patterns of English pronunciation. Uh, for the distinctive features, different regions in Indonesia may exhibit unique phonological features that can be reflected in the way English is spoken. Examining these features can contribute to a comprehensive understanding of English phonology in Indonesia. So when I'm doing this research, I can apply it to a wider context. By understanding the phonological patterns of English in Indonesia, it can contribute to the generalizability of my research finding. It will allows me to make more nuanced claims about how English is spoken in diverse global contexts, not just Indonesia, but in other countries as well. So, meeting with my subject, Naira Rashida Al Kudri, 20 years old, is a local Indonesian and currently studying in Melbourne, Australia, pursuing a course in medical. She is actually a bit interesting about her is that she's acquired English at the age of 4 years old. Now she's already on the acrylic level because she's currently living in Australia and she's basically speaking English day to day basis in there and taking course in English language, of course. So it is a perfect match for my interview session because she's also fluent in English. So I don't have uh, the conflict of not getting my answers and not getting the language barrier itself. So for the importance of English language in Indonesia, firstly, my subject respond that it's not that important on the day-to-day basis, and you will be just fine if you don't actually fluent in English language. And for Indonesian people, English will just be a bonus point if you want to apply for a job in Indonesia. How important is English in your country?
Mm, um, I don't think it's that important on a day-to-day basis. Like if you cannot speak English, like you're gonna do just fine in Indonesia. Um, but actually, like if you wanna apply for jobs, usually they're gonna ask, how is your English? And I think it is just like a bonus point in like job applications. Like if you are fluent in English, that is a bonus.
So for this day, the English will be the second language option for work interview.
Yes. But I don't think like they're gonna do an interview in English. Usually they're just gonna ask like, how fluent are you in English? And then yeah, that's all.
I see. Okay. So for the history of English in Indonesia, the first one is when the Dutch colonial period, which is on the 17th to 20th century, the Dutch became the primary colonial language in Indonesia. And then when the World War II and the start of the Japanese occupation, 1942 until 1945, the Japanese promoted Bahasa Indonesia, the national language of Dutch. And then when that happens, English become limited over the region part of Indonesia, and it will lead to recent time, which is um, people in Indonesia do not think highly of English and do not speak English day-to-day basis because they strongly agree that bahasa Indonesia is more important than the language of English itself. And then for the globalization of English in Indonesia. English plays a significant role in various aspects of Indonesian society nowadays, whether it's in economic aspect or it's in education industry.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Portuguese first, and then um, it was the Dutch, like the people from the Netherlands, and then it was the Japanese. But I'm not sure when English was first taught in Indonesia.
I guess. Okay. So,
For Indonesian people, when they say the letter R, it's a lot clearer when they want to speak an English word that have a letter R in it. For example, my subject give me the examples of effort, which they usually call it as effort. They tend to press the R in that particular word. So another example that she said was challenging, and the people of Indonesia easily mistook of pronounce it, which is even, uh, which they originally said as FN. The V uh, changed by the letter of F, FN. And game, they just say it like game, game. Yes.
uh, can you share an example of English word that sound different in Indonesian?
Mm, okay, I think I did make some notes about a few words. I think Indonesians like to use some English words when they speak Indonesian. Usually they say the word effort, but in Indonesian, Indonesians say it like effort, effort. So like the R is a lot clearer. And then um sometimes they say even, but like it sounds like you say it with an F, so it's like even. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Okay, I see, I see. Right, so that's all?
And the word game,
Yeah.
Indonesians say it like game, just like game.
Um, okay.
So my subject also responds that the letter E for people in Indonesia has different sounds of phoneme, which is and E. So it will be quite confusing for them to say some words that have the letter E in English language. Like she give me the example of the word beef, which is a bit confusing if the even Indonesian try to saying it, like maybe they tend to pronounce it as BF or BF. So that's the challenging of pronunciation, the different of pronouncing Indonesian and the standard English.
Question. Are there particularly sounds or phonetic aspects that tend to be more challenging for Indonesian speakers when acquiring English pronunciation?
Mm. Yeah, I think what's challenging is how we try to um say words that have R in it, because like we're so clear like when pronouncing our R is like R, but like I cannot do like the Indonesian form of it because I have a list like my R just sounds unclear. um I'm trying to find an example of the word, but I can't, but I hope you get what I mean.
Okay, I know, I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
it's that.
also another example, like um any English word that has the letter E in it, usually um yeah, it's a bit confusing for us Indonesians because like when we see the letter E, like in Indonesian we can read it as and or e. So like for example, like the word beef, it has two e's in it. Like if you read it the Indonesian way, like you can pronounce it as bf or bef or like boof, like yeah, like those differences.
I see.
For my self-reflection and summary, English in Indonesia is still underdeveloped in the rural part of Indonesia, making English is still viewed as language of the elite within Indonesia because the language of English tend to be speak by a high level of people. While English role in various domains continue to evolve, reflecting Indonesia's position in the global community, whether it's on business, industry, or educational level. And knowing there's a difference in pronunciation just within the neighboring country makes me realize that linguistic approach can change people overview.